People who could see but went blind, what's it like? Is it like being in perpetual darkness or something else? Oh, I can answer this. I had some neurological issues when I was younger. Once or twice this resulted in a brief but total loss of vision because my brain stopped processing the input from my eyes or something along those lines. It's nothing. You don't see darkness. It's just nothing. Best way to describe it would be like you're trying to see out of your kneecap. There's nothing to see because your kneecap isn't sending information about sight to your brain. Or it's like asking you to tell me how I look in the infrared spectrum right now. There's no real words to describe the sensation of lacking a sensation, because it's an oxymoron. Keep in mind too that there's a different kind of blindness. What I described is probably similar to the experiences of people who were born blind because of issues with their nervous system. Other people can go blind due to degeneration of the mechanics of the eye itself, which I bet is much different. Someone legally blind, not going blind. I have several friends who are going blind, and they seem to fall into two camps. First, their brain tries to fill in the blanks in their blind spots, and it's just a slightly blurred section that they know not to trust. Second, it's just blank, as if nothing is there, light or dark. They can't perceive anything particular there, as it's beyond their ability to see anything there. I lost an eye as a child. It is not darkness, it is nothing. What do you see with your elbow? That's what I see with my prosthetic eye. My dog bit off my cornea once. I was sitting on the floor playing fetch with a hat. I decided we were done and put the head on my head to stand up. He wasn't done fetching yet and jumped for the hat. I leaned back, he missed the hat and grabbed my left eyeball. His teeth raked across the surface of my eye and tore the cornea off in a big shred. At first I was in shock and felt like something big was stuck in my eye. I couldn't even close it properly, so in a panic I rushed to the kitchen to wash water through it, thinking I had dog hair in my eye. Yes, it hurt, but the adrenaline was high. Once the water hit my eye, I could feel the tatters of the cornea tear off. At that point the pain went to 10. I screamed until I vomited, then blacked out. Woke up and vomited again, and screamed all the way to the ER where they gave me painkillers. By far the worst pain I've ever experienced. Mind-shattering, relentless pain. Like a toothache where it's so deep in your head everything is pain, but so much more razor-sharp compared to a toothache. Incoherent pain. I would argue you couldn't even use it for torture because it makes you mindless. So to the point of the thread. My bad, I was so sensitive that I couldn't just cover the one and use the other. The pressure from the muscles and moving it with the other caused far too much pain. So I wrapped my whole head and went blind for the month or 3 it took for the eye to heal. I lived like a blind person for that time. The hardest thing to get used to was eating. I couldn't figure out how to get food onto the fork, and it was disorienting to try to put the fork in my mouth. Even though you don't look at your food before taking a bite, you still subconsciously orient yourself, so that took some time to develop. I listened to a lot of movies I had already seen. Most days were spent just laying on the couch listening to old movies and seeing them in my head, which was really cool because I noticed so much different stuff. My absolute favorite was Big Fish because of how fanciful it was. It really made imagining it a lot of fun. As my eye healed, the pain let up and I could go with my head unwrapped. Then eventually I could open it without hurting. It was like looking through wax paper. Everything was just white. Then it cleared out and I could see clearly, but there was a disparity between my eyes, like my brain had forgotten how to line up the images and my depth perception was totally screwed. I actually got motion sick several times, and I remember taking walks around the block just for the practice of getting used to seeing again. Vision came back just fine, 20/20 and good as new. For several years the cornea wasn't attached very well, and if my eye dried out at night I would tear it again when I opened my eyes. That would be another day or 2 in agony pain. Eventually that stopped happening too. I am legally blind in my left eye. It is a problem with how my eyes lined up as a kid. and my brain decided to ignore my left eye. I wore a patch off and on as a kid and had vision as good as 20/60 before it progressively got worse. I honestly hardly notice it. I had a pretty distinguished career in the military despite it, including shooting Top Gun often. I always felt bad because I could never do drills some people could, such as shooting with non-dominant hand, at least without some awkward head lean, I suppose. Given that it is one eye, I just experienced the world crystal clear with my right eye. When I got metal in that eye, I drove to the hospital, and it was incredibly brutal. I could see the red of a light, but couldn't really gauge distance. Stare at a wall. Now try to look out of the back of your head without moving an inch. All that nothing behind the headband of your vision is what they see. Nothing. Was pretty normally sighted, some mild issues but nothing near blindness, until I was 15, 22 now. Have lost my vision both gradually and in huge increments, if that makes sense. In one eye, I'm nearly totally blind and can only really perceive light in dark and very bright colors. But this disappears pretty quickly in bright light, which is incredibly painful, and my night vision is useless. What you may find more interesting is that I started off by losing my central vision. In essence, I had a huge blind spot that I didn't really notice. My brain just filled in the information to make me think that I could see. This may be confusing. As an example, I lost a bottle of nail polish and was trying to find it. I spent a while trying to find it with my vision. This was when it was better. Now I could never do this visually, and couldn't. My mother came in. It was right in front of me. Most of the time, this eye just has a total lack of information except light or dark. Like, if you turn a light on in the room, I can tell, but I just can't make out anything in the room. In the other, I am still way beyond legally blind, 20/CF1 if that means anything to anyone. Basically I can count the fingers on your hand if it's 1 feet away, but can't see other than that, and have significant central loss. I can see a tiny bit peripherally, so sometimes if I'm walking with someone and they're on my right side I can sort of make them out. The way I describe my vision overall is that I can see light, dark, and very bright colors. Sometimes general shapes. I really can't imagine what other people see now. My vision was always a bit off, but I've now been mostly blind so long I don't have much concept of it. I'm a college student and I was amazed a few years back when one of my friends commented that my professors kept books in their offices. Of course they do, that makes sense, but I had never realized. Someone I know who went totally blind overnight said that it was like gray, and when they walked into light, it was a shinier gray. For what it's worth, I'm now at a point with my vision loss where it's frustrating, but the real issue is other people not understanding that I'm a fully capable individual. People speak to me like I'm a child on a daily basis and it's infuriating. I'm seeing a lot of total blindness answers, so I'll provide my experience. I experience ocular migraines related to inflammation surrounding one of my ocular nerves. When I get the migraines, I lose all peripheral vision in one eye and can only see pinpoint in that eye for about 20 minutes, and then I'm sick in bed for at least a day. What I do see aside from the pinpoint is this lightning strike zigzag that slowly moves across my field of vision, and blurred colors in the peripheral field. My brain doesn't want to really process what colors I see, though. It's weird. I suffered from a brief bout of blindness after head trauma. I could sort of see, but it was more like looking through a kaleidoscope. Everything was a blurry blob of color without a defined start or end. Everything just blended together. Like, if you unfocus your eyes and cross them, that's a very rough idea of what I was seeing, or not seeing. I don't remember what the exact term is for this specific type of vision loss. It was 7 years ago and I was rather concussed, but, if permanent, it is indeed classed as blindness. I'm not entirely blind, but I'm blind in my right as a result of cancer. There are days it becomes my biggest weakness. I can drive fine, hold down a job fine. But some days I walk into table corners, bang my elbow on stuff, etc., Or hell, my fiance pointed out the sodas I was looking for at Walmart the other day after I had walked past them 3 times, because they were on my right side.